training for the future. In 2013, Chungi and Gina moved back to the Barkly Tableland to manage land, Walmanpa, Wallamangu country. So pronounced, yeah, sorry for my language, but where Gina grew up, and it is in a traditional owner. This is her grandfather's country, and they're here to tell us a bit of a story about some of the good work they've been doing on. So put your hands together and please welcome Gina and Chungi.
Hi. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional lands that we gathered on today and pay my respects to the past, present and emerging, and I'm sure for both of us. So yeah, I don't know how to operate this. Just press the middle one? Oh, that way? Cool. So yeah, we're here to deliver the good grazing management and training for the future. And as Dean mentioned in the introduction, where we operated our small enterprise was on Kalladitchman North Aboriginal Land Trust, which is based 120 kilometres northwest of Tennant Creek, if anybody knows, a bit of the Northern Territory. And yeah, so which is my grandfather's country. We were one of 5 communities within that land trust, and the business evolved from the old people getting the land back, and as they all were, they worked and lived in that industry, pastoral industry around there, so they had aspirations to create employment and economic enterprises for their traditional owners. In saying that is where I've sort of stepped in and followed in my grandfather's footsteps to help build our corporation. And so like I said, we were only one community of 5 within that land trust, so we had neighbouring families that we also supported. Where am I? So in saying that, we were stuck in traditional ways. I took over, my partner and I took over from my father, my uncles, my grandfather, and back in those days it was all just set stocked grazing. So yeah, when a younger generation came through, we started to implement some new grazing management principles where we worked closely with RCS and those guys back in the day. So this was part of it. So we had to plan, monitor and manage our country. So yeah, in planning, and we all have plans, but they go out the window sometimes, so most of the time. So yeah, planning, made sure we had enough ground cover, enough food. So really, I guess in the early stages, we thought we were cattle managers. We weren't. Basically, we were ringers. And yeah, we were actually had to learn quickly that we were grass farmers. Got to grow grass before we can have cattle. So yeah, hence why, you know, we had fires go through, and back in the day, like I said, from my parents taking over, and there was traditional burning as well in their ways of managing. We took on the concept not to burn and use our animals to manage the land in a better way. And there are times where fires come through from neighbours and we can't help that. So in that state, we go out and monitor and make sure we got enough feed. Our cow pats was one way of managing and making sure our cattle were good. Just going around and checking if there was anything they were lacking in, but that's a good cow pat there. A really good one. My husband's the expert in finding them. And yeah, if we did find our cattle were lacking or something, then we managed that and we monitored and we moved them. So yeah, it was a pretty good setup we had in the end of it. So again, like I said, time spent in the paddock with the growth rate of our plants. And the area where we were managing, our annual rainfall was 250 mil, which we had to really learn how to work with. It was not a lot of rain, so we had to manage the country. Okay, and again, like I said, fires that came in, we had a plan, we had a rotation program and all that sort of stuff, but then we had to regather and set again. We set our boundaries, set our goals. So yeah. Also our stocking rate to carrying capacity, as much as I like to be outside on the ground, chasing cows and all the rest of it with everybody else, I had to do all the computer work as well as running the business. So, I don't know, there was a busy day that day. 3 computer screens going. So we electronically working with RCS on our journey, setting up our stock flow charts, our grazing charts, and that sort of stuff, and managing our rotational programs that we implemented. So yeah, as much as I hated the office, I had to sit in there, and we reaped the rewards at the end of it with the grazing principles that we implemented. I probably should hand over to Chongi now because I'm taking over.
No, you're right.
No, you're right. I'll let him talk.
What's that slide number?
I don't know what slide I'm on.
I'll let him in.
Yeah.
So I guess for Gina and I, we did start to take more notice of the land, what we had available, I guess, because where we were was pretty tough country, and we really had to. There was times we made massive mistakes in our early rotations where we really buggered it up. And on one side we had some really awesome looking cows, then our weaners weren't so good, so it was like trying to get all them looking right at the same time was difficult for us. But it's like it had its challenges and like lots of dramas, but I guess for us it was like a learning journey that we would never go back on because it changed us a lot. Mm-hmm. And particularly caring for the country was an important thing to Gina and I. So.
Yeah.
So I guess we, for us, when we went to Blue Bush, we had 3 paddocks, the Blue Bush, and we had 2 waters. When we left, we had 11 paddocks and 11 watering points, and we'd rotate those cattle through that system all year round. And not just us, we had a couple of handy blokes from Tennant Creek used to come in, and they learnt, I guess I heard yesterday that someone was talking about engaging people in what you're doing and making sure they understand why you're doing it. And Gina and I sometimes weren't there, we were busy somewhere, but those guys knew what was there, the rotations were set up on the board, and they knew when to do it, and they'd come back and let us know what was happening. So it was good. They got involved and everyone got involved, So I guess Gina and I both come from a training and employment background. For us it's really important that we teach the next generation. At Blue Bush, as well as running cattle, we ran for education department, we ran a vet and schools program. So kids from right across the Northern Territory came to us, and we done rural operations with them, certified certificates, training. So that was good. I mean, come from Hermansburg all the way through to Burralula, some of them kids came from. So it was good to see them there. And we also ran pre-employment courses for young adults exiting school. So we'd do them on property, and we'd go to other places to do it for them as well. And we also ran a mentoring program, which we went to cattle stations and mentored a lot of Indigenous staff that were on non-Indigenous pastoral properties and others. So for us, it was another way. We were a very small operation, so we had to find other income. So that was our way of doing it. And diversity. So I guess for us, that's it. We thank you for letting us talk and tell our little story about where we come from and what we do, and and look forward to seeing out the rest of the conference. So thank you.
Thank you, Chungi and Gina. We have a couple of minutes for probably 1 or 2 questions. Sorry, is there a roving mic somewhere?
Thank you for your presentation, and I'm really excited about knowing more about how you developed as a business. because it's a similar idea where we're trying to set up around Cunnamulla with some, farmers in the region. But you did mention that, the land, you don't have a lot of water access, and are there conversations or areas where you can get a water licence, or maybe look at a water licence as a First Nations person?
The area that we were managing is semi-arid, so it's sort of backed onto the Tanami Desert, and there's not a lot of good water around there.
Yep.
One of the bores that we operated off was 100 metres deep, so the water's pretty deep in that country. We had no surface water. We had a few coolabah swamps, so not a lot of surface water. So in regards to a water licence, it'd be pretty difficult around there.
Yeah.
But in saying that, in 2015, our average rainfall for that area is about 5 inches. 2015, we had 16 inches.
Yeah.
And, it was unbelievable, but we just stood there and watched all the water run away, basically. So, and we didn't know how, as much as we had that amount of rain, we were still in drought at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked that question because my involvement with the Murray-Darling Basin Authority and the river system is about having conversations with the authority about how do we build capacity of First Nations people like yourselves to maybe even look at infrastructure, water licences, to be able to capture some of that water rather than seeing it run off and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I'd like to also maybe connect you with the Tropical North Drought Hub, to connect you with maybe some practices or innovations or even tools like long paddock that could also, support you guys around, using 3 screens and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give you some details. Thank you.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.